Hey everyone, it's Jake at Jake's Metal Chat. Hope you're all well, and welcome to episode 14 of my Metal Vault, where I will be exploring and showing you my favorite albums within heavy metal, thrash metal, death metal, black metal, doom metal, sludge metal, folk metal, you name it, all of that excellent stuff. And I have another, and I mean another banger for you from the year of 1991 from a band that I have shown on this channel a bunch of times now, from Oakland, California, formed in 1987 and have been going strong ever since. Of course, they did split up in 1995, briefly got back together in 2008, then got back together permanently in 2009, and I got to see them at UK Death Fest in London in 2022, and I'm so happy that I got to see him. And one of the songs from the album that I'm showing you, they opened with it. I'm talking about Autopsy, and this is their second album, their 1991 release, Mental Funeral. And just an excellent, sick, disgusting death metal album right here. Just pure disgustingness. And I love this band so much because the first time I heard them, it was from their debut album, Severed Survival, of course, from 1989. They are on the famous label as that is Peaceville, as you can see right there. Also, we got the back with all. Well, of course, this is the re-release, so we got some bonus tracks right down the bottom there. Demo version of Ridden with Disease, of course, from their debut, and a live version of Service for a Vacant Coffin. And let's get the artwork out a minute before we talk more about this band and the influence they have had on death metal. The artwork, of course, need to remember who done this artwork. Probably say on the back, but I'll get it here on my usual one. A man named Kev Walker, who has done artwork for Bolt for a Realm of Chaos. Really cool. Of course, Autopsy, Severed Survival, this one, and a compilation called After the Cutting, as well as three other bands that I'm not too familiar with. Of course, from the UK, a British comic artist illustrator from Leeds, who worked mainly on the 2000 AD and Warhammer comics, so hence why he did the artwork for Boltfer and also Magic the Gathering, and is now working for Marvel Comics, just so you know, the one who did, just let you know what the guy who done this is doing now. Another picture of the band. Of course, as simple, but it works as you can get with the lyrics. Don't need a lot of artwork and other pictures in there, but always cool to see those in albums. And let's get the CD out as well. Of course, half of the artwork and some pictures of the band. Like I said, it's a re-release, but I think these are an original, and someone let me know. Yes, because like I said, the lineup's different on this one because obviously on the debut, it wasn't their bass player Ken doing the bass. It was Steve DiGiorgio of Sadist Testament fame. Because on this one, it's Eric's brother Steve playing the bass. Now, of course, this is following on from, of course, the debut. This came out on the 22nd of April 1991 on Peaceville. Like I said, favorite record label of mine, one of many. And of course, the guitar sounds a lot different on this one as opposed to Severed Survival, because Severed Survival is almost borderline HM2. If you agree with that, if not, then I think that's just me. But obviously, the amps I think they were using died or something after that. So the sound we got now is what they've been using from this one till now. Well, pretty much now. Of course, you got Sons, getting to the Sons as well. But the guitar tone on this, absolute filth. And the Sons, like Twisted, Massive Burnt Decay, In the Grip of Winter, which is the one they opened with at UK Death Fest in 2022. A mate of mine can confirm how sick they were live. Flesh Crawl tune, Torn from the Wombs, Slaughter Day, Dead, Robbing the Grave, Hole in the Head. You know, just the amount of, destined to fester, just trying to just soak all these songs in again. Bonesaw, Dark Crusade, and of course the title track, Mental Funeral. Every song from start to finish is just pure filth, disgustingness. And I've mentioned disgusting death metal before. They're in that list as well, just like way before bands like Undergain and Hyperdontia, Anatomia, um, Cryptworm, bands like that. And with Autopsy, you not only do you get that full intense death metal sound, but you get the doom in there as well. So they get classed as death doom quite a lot. And I can see why, because it's very doomy. But you get to the third album, of course, as I do, I explore not just the album I'm talking about, but the whole band itself. The other album, Acts of the Unspeakable, came out a year later. More on the grindy, punkier side, I think. And of course, Shit Fun from 95, which is the album that they did after they did the last year and pretty much split up. Pretty much on hiatus until 2008, where they did, what was it? From 2000, well, they got back briefly and then started doing new stuff in 2009. That's what I was looking for, the Tomb Within EP from 2010, which of course has my favourite song on that EP, My Corpse Shall Rise. In true Autopsy fashion, sorry, disgusting. And of course, they re-released Severed Survival in, a reissue, re-release from February 2009, re-release, reissue, you know what I mean. With this album, I mean, Severed Survival is always going to be one of my favorites. And after that, it's going to be this one, because it just went a whole nother level, because bands always top themselves, and they top themselves here again with this one. Everyone's going to have their opinions saying, oh, Severed Survival is the best. But if I was going to say the best albums from Autopsy, this one, Severed Survival, um, Skull Grinder was really good as well. Really liked the last one, Ashes, Organs, Blood, and Crypts. The one before that, Morbidity, Triumphant. Really, really solid, really great, solid release right there. But if I'm talking about earlier ones, the debut in this one, just absolute madness. Again, use that word a lot. While saying that, while having some water, was on a walk, so got hydrate. And sometimes I would put on Autopsy. But if I want a long walk and maybe a jog, I'll get this one, because I can do a mix of, it's one where you can do a mix of running, jogging, walking, whichever. Like I said, it's the re-release because if I can get the album up properly, not share screen, I'm not going to do that. Other versions. So when did this particular version come out? 2003. So let's get on that one, which is the CD. Of course, there are reissues. And I think, yeah, Retribution for the Dead, which would be, obviously from the EP, Retribution for the Dead. Destined to Fester, there's a version of that on there, and of course, a different version of In the Grip of Winter. Here, those two side by side are completely different, but I like both versions. Um, it's just it's a masterpiece, a timeless masterpiece from the early 90s, and obviously they've had guest vocalist, one called the Boogeyman, who was in Doomed, which was a band that I'm trying to remember top of my head, Chris and Danny. Just trying to remember if it was Danny or Eric. It wasn't Eric. Of course, that it was you got classed it as doom, death metal, grindcore, hardcore. Of course, I know the demo from that, which had. I'm not going to try and remember the song name, but it's a fascination with human blood, so to speak. But obviously, with Autopsy, lyrical themes, gore, death, horror, zombies, just a lot of things like that. If you know them, if you looked them up and tell them you know what this stuff is. Of course, favorite tracks of mine from the album would be obviously In the Grip of Winter, Flesh Crawl, A Hole in the Head, Destined to Fester. But my all-time favorite one from this would be In the Grip of Winter, which they opened with at UK Death Fest. And I've had Chris, of course, we got Chris, got the man himself right there. He told me where this photo was taken. Somewhere, it was in the UK. Can't remember where exactly in the UK. Doesn't say who took the photos, but only says who did the artwork, engineering, layout, and produce. But don't think I asked him who took the photos, but he did say it was in the UK, and I think it might be Birmingham. I could be totally wrong on that. Well, actually, I'll show that one. If anyone who is from the UK knows exactly where that is, please tell me, because I want to say Birmingham, but I could be totally wrong. Um, but yeah, the lineup on this album really cool. This was the lineup when they were on tour with Paradise Lost, which I've watched both of those full live sets here on YouTube. Can find them now, but both sets are awesome. Both at the time Peaceville bands. No, Paradise Lost not on Peaceville now. But if I'm going to go to, because they did a split with Paradise Lost, which obviously was Twisted Mass of Burnt Decay and Eternal, which later went on to Gothic. So they did that. Because Peaceville's Paradise Lost is no longer on Peaceville. Peaceville's still going. They're on Nuclear Blast. That's what I was trying to remember. Of course, they did that tour, when was it? 91. And I didn't know if they ever came to Bristol. Because I said to Chris, "I'll come to Bristol," and he said, we actually did when we went on tour with Paradise Lost." It's like, and they played the Beer Cutters. I went there. If you were at that one, tell me down below what you thought, and tell me what you thought of this album when you first heard it. For all you veterans out there, for anyone brand new to this band, to Autopsy, if I'm gonna recommend like two of the earliest albums by these guys, this one and Severed Survival. Also check out Acts of the Unspeakable and and shit funny if you want to check out all the earlier stuff. But I recommend all of it. But I got my favorite albums. Obviously, like I said, the debut, this one, Mobility Triumphant, and of course, I really liked Ashes, Organs, Blood and Crips. Tourniquets, Hacksaws, Graves, also solid release. The Headless Ritual and Macabre Eternal, solid as well. Of course, the Theme for Blood EP that they did, and their demos, if you heard their demos, really cool as well. And of course, for anyone not too familiar or didn't know, but for all you veterans, you're going to know, Chris Royford was on the Mutilation demo and the debut album of Death, Scream Bloody Gore. We're looking up his discography, the rehearsal tape from '86, the Mutilation demo, Scream Bloody Gore, Aborted Sessions, and of course the debut. And obviously, after Autopsy split up for the first time, did drums and vocals for Abscessed, and it was also did drums for a band called Burnt Offering, sorry. Obviously, Doomed, Frightmare, The Ravenous. He has another band which is not metal at all. He does all sorts. He's done all sorts of different bands. He does all sorts of different stuff. And the new bass player they got, where was he? Greg. Obviously, he's in a lot of other bands himself. He's in another band with Chris called Sadistic Abyss. Static Abyss, sorry. Not sadistic. Static Abyss. Thinking of a different band with sadistic in it. Sadistic Intent, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, just solid, pure, filthy, old school, disgusting death metal with that solid doom sound in there as well. You can call these guys death metal, you can call them death doom. Either way, it's excellent. So once again, anyone brand new to the world of death metal, not too familiar with death metal yet, you just gotten into the scene, you got into the genre, this is a band for you. If you like death metal with that doom element to it, Autopsy is the one for you. And if anyone does start out with this album after watching this video or watching other videos mentioning this album, then awesome. Love the artwork. It just sums up the band, sums up the album. If anyone's got that as a tattoo, God, you would have been sat in a chair for ages. But definitely this one, Separate Survival, just all Autopsy. It's death metal. And you know it's Autopsy as soon as you hear one note from Autopsy. You're gonna know it's Autopsy. And this album will continue to stand the test of time, and all the other albums that I've mentioned so far, and all the other albums that I will be mentioning in more videos to come. So once again, Autopsy and Mental Funeral. And that is it for another episode. Hope you enjoyed this episode, this Tuesday episode of My Metal Vault. I am now looking at my other albums I have, and I will now tick that off just so I do it now instead of doing it after this. Got another two to do this. I got one more to do this week, and then back next week with two others. So many more My Metal Vault videos to come, more bands to show you. I may expand the years or might just keep it in the 80s and 90s, but if there's any albums that you think that I should talk about from either the early 2000s, even bands who released albums back in the 70s, I'll talk about those as well. But I'm going to primarily keep it to the 80s and 90s. You know, heavy metal and the thrash, like the birth of thrash throughout the 80s, birth of death metal, birth of doom and sludge folk, you name it. But thank you once again for tuning in to another video. If you haven't already, don't forget to like this video, share it around. Feel free to comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on the album, the band itself, and albums that you would like to see on this series. Of course, it's albums that I will be picking from my collection. But if you mention an album that I got, it will be on here. And don't forget to subscribe and keep up to date with everything that I'm doing. And to everyone who has subscribed so far, thank you very much. I've gotten to the 590 mark now. 592 when I last looked. So thank you very much. I've been Jake of Jake's Metal Chat. Keep that banner of metal held high, and I will see you all in another episode of My Metal Vault.